All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I did get the Sequre ESC and motor installed in my F3. There's the motor. And then with the ESC, what I ended up doing is I actually desoldered the beck and kind of moved it over. So it made the profile of the ESC a little shorter, so I did mount it, was able to mount it on the slider like my old Ray 32. It doesn't have shrink wrap on it, but I don't usually run in water, so I'm not super worried about it at the moment. And I gotta tell you guys, so far, I'm pretty impressed with this ESC and motor combo. You know, like I alluded to, the motor just inherently has a good amount of power and torque just because of those extra windings and the bigger magnets. And then the Escape 32, so I've actually been playing with this for a few weeks since I dropped that first video. And the programming in Escape 32, it's confusing at first when you're coming from AM32 because there's a lot more settings and you have to kind of figure out what everything does. But, you know, the main thing when you're tuning a silent ESC like this is you're tuning the switch from sine mode to regular mode. And so, you know, that's usually like the biggest headache for people is because when it switches, it can either be a really hard switch so the truck kind of like jolts, or if there's not enough power when it switches, then it causes the motor to like stutter, and that's the most common issue. So what I did with this, just for testing purposes, is when I installed the motor, I installed it with a 14-tooth pinion instead of my normal 12-tooth pinion, because this truck is running Capra axles, which are geared a little bit taller than, say, like a TRX4 axle. And so my ideal pinion on this truck is a 12th tooth, and it runs really smooth. So I intentionally geared up to a 14 to overwork the motor and the ESC. And the results that I got, guys, is just like this ESC and the motor. It's pretty impressive. So once I was able to get it to connect and was able to tune it and started like really playing around with stuff. So you can maybe see it's kind of bright out here, but there's a little like red light on there. So yeah, once you get connected, you have, and I don't know how well this is showing up in the sunlight, but you've got sine range, which is what you would expect, sine power, which is what you'd expect, and then the big one down here is called stall protection. I've got it set to 2800. So it's with Escape 32, normally you would tune like startup power, but with, or not Escape 32, with AM32, normally you would tune startup power. But with Escape 32, you tune stall protection. And so instead of like forcing the motor to turn harder, it forces a motor to resist stutter more. It sounds like it would be the same thing, but it's the way that it works in practice. It's different, and this ends up being smoother than AM32. Duty min, that's like startup power, and it's by default it's set to 1, and I only have it set to 2 because I can generate heat. And then stall protection goes up to 3200. I've got it set up to 2800. I could probably tune that down if I was running a 12-tooth pinion. But so the way that it controls the switching compared to AM32 is just smoother. Like almost imperceivably smoother. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's the app that you need for programming. You know, they say that you can also tune it via the CLI, which would probably be kind of a headache for most people, so just get one of the Wi-Fi adapters. They're only a couple of bucks. So yeah, I'll get set up, and I'm gonna go get out on the rocks here and get some running footage for you guys. Okay, so it's I'm gonna think about how loud it would be here at Whitewater. But I'm gonna do some lines, and then I'm gonna try to get it to where you can hear the ESC switching modes, because it's you can't see it because it's super smooth, but you should be able to hear it if I get close enough. So that's sine. We'll do it one more time. Alright guys, so that was just some running footage with the Sequre Escape 32 ESC and 1800 kV motor. And so as you can see, it when it switches between sine and regular, it like you can't even see it in the attitude of the truck because it's just so smooth. And the impressive thing is that it's that smooth with the truck being over geared. Like with AM32, I had to drop down to a 12 tooth because it stuttered. Like it stuttered pretty bad. And so the fact that this ESC and motor can push that smoothly past sine mode with a 14 tooth pinion, it's really impressive. And so You know, I didn't mention this in the first video, but after I did some research, I realized this ESC, it's like the same MCU, it's the same processor that is on the Neutron ESC. And if you're not familiar, the Neutron ESC is what most people are using for their silent ESC. So you've got like Silent Assassin, Deluxe Fab, maybe, I'm not sure who else, but they're all using this same ESC, right? And so you can get it from Sequre, pre-wired, ready to run for, I want to say it's around $50 for the ESC. And then the other good news is that I think Negative G is actually going to start stocking these, the ESCs, the motors, and the Wi-Fi adapters. You know, right now, Negative G, they stock the Rhino electronics. And, you know, those are definitely still good, especially the 80 amp, because it's got that 10 amp BEC if you're using a servo that's not direct power. You know, if you're using a direct power servo, this ESC with Escape 32, it's pretty good. I want to say I definitely prefer it over AM 32. All right, guys, I think that's all I got for this video. If you have any questions or complaints, please leave them in the comments. All right, thanks for watching.